Every soldier who stepped into the trenches of the Great War carried more than a rifle and a prayer. Pinned to their collars, stitched onto their sleeves and fastened to their chests were small pieces of metal and fabric that spoke a language most modern eyes can no longer read. These badges, patches, and insignia weren't merely decorative. They were survival tools in their own right. A visual code that could mean the difference between a bullet from a friendly sentry or, safe passage through the lines. In the mud-choked labyrinths of the Western Front, where the acrid stench of cordite mixed with the sweet rot of standing water, a glance at a man's shoulder could tell you everything: his unit, his specialization, his home, and, quite often, his fate. When the 81st Wildcat Division landed in France in 1918, they wore something unprecedented, an unauthorized black cat patch that General Pershing initially viewed as unmilitary foolishness. Yet within weeks he reversed his decision entirely, recognizing what those doughboys had instinctively understood. In a war where individual identity dissolved into the faceless mass of mechanized slaughter, men needed something to fight for beyond abstract patriotism. They needed tribe. The American Expeditionary Force exploded with creativity as units scrambled to design their own shoulder-sleeve insignia. The 1st Division chose a bold red numeral on olive green, earning the name Big Red One that still resonates today. The 42nd Division's rainbow arc represented the convergence of National Guard units from 26 states, a visual promise that even in the shell-pocked earth of Champagne and the Argonne, they remained united. These weren't just pretty pictures. They were psychological armor against the dehumanizing machinery of industrial warfare. Understanding these badges meant, understanding survival itself. A German soldier examining a captured American's collar discs could immediately identify his branch and regiment, intelligence that might determine whether he was interrogated by standard infantry or specialized assault troops. The French fourragère, that distinctive braided cord worn on the shoulder, announced to friend and foe alike that this unit had been collectively cited for valor. Approach with respect or face soldiers who had already proven their deadliness. British cap badges, often intricate castings of regimental symbols dating back centuries, were guarded more fiercely than rations. Sappers wore their distinctive castle and anchor, signifying men who could tunnel beneath no man's land or build bridges under fire. Medical corpsmen displayed the Geneva Convention's Red Cross, a symbol that, at least in theory, protected them, but quite often made them targets for less scrupulous enemies. Machine gun specialists wore crossed guns, which marked them as priority targets, since, honestly, a single skilled gunner could cut down an entire company. In the chaos of night raids and gas attacks, when, verbal communication became impossible through respirator masks and the thunder of artillery, these visual markers created instant recognition, your tribe or the enemy. Survival in the trenches extended far beyond simply dodging bullets. It meant understanding that your divisional patch, visible from quite a distance, could draw sniper fire if you lingered just a bit too long above the parapet. Veterans learned to mudcake their shiny new badges before going over the top because, reflected light attracted enemy machine gunners like moths to flame. Resourceful soldiers, they fashioned false insignia to confuse enemy intelligence. a practice that actually became so widespread that both sides ended up employing specialists to authenticate captured badges and determine which units truly occupied which sectors. The Germans, for their part, developed particularly sophisticated systems. Their Litzen collar tabs used specific coloured piping and button arrangements that required honestly intimate knowledge to decode. A Prussian Guard regiment's insignia differed subtly from a Bavarian line infantry unit, distinctions that, in the end, informed tactical decisions about where attacks might succeed or fail. Scouts and raiders sometimes removed all insignia entirely, becoming, ghosts moving through the wire. But this carried its own deadly risk. Capture without identification meant potential execution as a spy rather than, treatment as a prisoner of war. The badges of the Great War survived in footlockers and display cases, silent witnesses to a conflict that redefined human destruction. Yet their true legacy lives in what they teach us about adaptation and identity under extreme duress. Those soldiers understood what modern survivalists and preparedness enthusiasts know instinctively. When everything familiar collapses, symbols matter. They create cohesion, maintain morale, and preserve humanity when darkness threatens to consume it. The next time you organize your gear, consider what small token might identify you to your group in chaos. What visual marker might foster unity when words fail? The lessons etched in those brass collar discs and embroidered patches remain startlingly relevant. Survival is never purely individual, and the tribe you declare through symbols may determine whether you stand or fall. If this exploration into the forgotten wisdom of wartime fieldcraft resonates with you, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and preparedness advocates. These stories deserve to be remembered, and the skills they contain deserve to be passed forward to those who value self-reliance, historical truth, and the enduring art of survival.